guys, welcome back to the Haken channel. So today I will be covering content that is found in exercise 2D and 2E. So 2D is called solving linear equations and 2E is called equations with brackets and pronumerals on both sides. So before I get started, I just want to quickly let you know that this is quite related to the term 1 topic where you had to expand brackets and find the unknown pronumeral. And for those of you who have forgotten what the pronumeral is, that's the letter, okay, that comes with a number. So today's learning intention and success criteria, I need you to understand how to solve linear equations by solving for the unknown. So when I'm saying that, I'm talking about when you get those equations that look like this, okay, and you have to solve for the unknown. So let's say the unknown was x, all right, and then you would eventually find out, you know, through your previous knowledge on how to calculate algebraic expressions, how to find that. And I'm just going to change the color to yellow perhaps, just see, yeah, it's much better. Okay, so today's success criteria, you need to be able to solve for the unknown pronumeral using the 1-step, 2-step and 3-step method. Now those are year 8 content that we've actually learnt. So if you do need some touching up on it, please let your teacher know. Okay, so you also need to be able to expand brackets to help solve for the unknown pronumeral. So this is around term 1. That was when you would have had something like 3x minus 1, and you had to multiply 3 into both brackets, so it equals 3x minus 3, because you multiply 3 to the x to give you 3x, and then you use that same number 3 to multiply it by the 1 to give you 3. That's what I just did, alright? And 1-step, 2-step, that would have been year 8. Okay, so an example of 1-step would be x plus 7 equals 10, so you only had to do one thing to, you know, get rid of the number, so it'd be 3. 2-step would have looked something like, let me think, 2x plus 3 equals 6 maybe. Okay, so you have to like move that across, that's 1 step, and then dividing to get rid of the 2 is 2-step. Okay, 3-step is more like when your fractions get involved, so it'd be maybe 3x over 2 plus 5 equals 10, so I've just made that up. Okay, so they're just examples, alright, just so you're familiar to what I'm talking about. So the last success criteria is that you need to be able to solve for the unknown pronumeral using the order of operations. Now the order of operations is BODMAS, so brackets of division, multiplication, subtraction, and division. So you need to be able to use these 4 symbols quite confidently to solve for, you know, x or y or whatever the question gives you. So we are going to go through worked examples today, so don't stress. So solving linear equations, like I said, is exercise 2D. So equivalent equations, alright, can be created by adding or subtracting the same number on both sides of the equation. So what do I mean by that? Alright, so here we have the question x plus 7 equals 12. So an equivalent equation, if I was to subtract 7 from both sides, so I subtract 7 from here and I subtract 7 from here, it would give me that, alright, and these two would be considered an equivalent equation. So another way you can create equivalent equations, now this one's an example of subtracting, but you can I could add 7 and it could be the same. Let's say I added 7. So let's say we did x plus 7 equals 12, alright, and I wanted to add 7 to both sides. Alright, so it'd be x plus 14 equals 19. That would still be, alright, you're heading towards an equivalent equation there. So another way you can do it is you can multiply and divide both equations, divide both sides of the equation by the same number, excluding 0. So what do I mean by that? So if I had x equals 2, and I wanted to find an equivalent equation, I could multiply both sides by 2. It could be any number, alright? I've just picked 2 because, well, 2 is the easiest for me to multiply, really. So x times 2 is 2x, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now, I just want to quickly let you know that when I did make this PowerPoint, I was having struggle city with finding the actual proper x, which you won't find in a few slides later, but that is actually incorrect because that's actually your multiplication sign. So for those of you who are lazy and like to write your x like that, okay, it's actually wrong. So if you're going to write 2x, you need to actually write it like as if it's two c's, you know, a backward c and a forward c. Right, that would be right, this is wrong. And that's because if you were to do anything to do with expanding, like if I said, I want you to expand this expression, if you wrote it like 2x squared, okay, that would actually look expanded like this. That, I don't know which one x, I don't know which one is a multiplication sign, okay, I could tell you that those are my multiplication signs because it's 2 times x, but you see how when you multiply it, I can actually see where my x is. These are my multiplication signs, like here, but see how it's more obvious, and that's why you need to get out of the habit of writing x like a multiplication sign. So we're going to do a couple of work examples to refresh your memory through this lesson. Now it is a bit of a longer video just because we've had to merge two of the chapters together, exercises. So let's do the first one. So 3x plus 1 equals 10. So the first thing we need to do is we need to move the 1 to the other side because we want x by itself. You are solving for x. Alright, so the first thing I'll do is you hop that over there. Now remember, the first house, number 10, he lives there. He owns the street, so he doesn't need to move his house. Number 1 wants to move into the same street as 10, so it has to be after 10. Now, if it goes over the equal sign, the sign in front of it actually changes to the opposite. So it's not plus anymore, it's a minus 1. So now we got 3x equals 9. Now, how do you get rid of 3? Well, I'm just going to do a different color. You need to divide both sides by 3. Okay, to get rid of it. So now 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, we don't write 1 in front of x, so in actual fact, your answer should just be x equals 3. Okay, make sure you don't write the 1. I've just written the 1 just to show you that there is a 1, okay, but you don't need to do that in your answer. Okay, so this is an example of a two-step method. Alright, now we're going to hop into the next one. So the next one would be a three-step method, I'd say. Or, yeah. So, first step, you need to get rid of that. It needs to hop over after 6 because 6 is the first house on the street. So you write your, x over 2 first and you go 6. Well, if it's going over, the sign changes, right? So if this is minus here, on this side, it'd be plus 5. And this is really important because the sign can ultimately change the entire answer. So 6 plus 5 is 11, as I've written. Now, how do I get rid of the fraction? You need to multiply both sides by 2, like that, okay? So then what you do is, when you do that, you need to remember that as a fraction, whole numbers are written over 1. Okay, so 2 equals 2 over 1, 3 equals 3 over 1, 6 equals 6 over 1. No magic formula. All right, so if this is 2 times 2, you're actually saying that, oh no, let's not do that color, let's do purple. You're actually, oh, that's, nope, no can do. You're actually saying that, well, using the butterfly method, what goes into both these two numbers, that can cancel them out. Well, you go 2. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So actually this whole thing, all right, would have equaled 1 times x over 1 over 1. I've just rewritten the blue out there. So 1 times x is what? I'm just going to write up here. X, and 1 times 1 is 1. And using that formula, we know that a whole number is always over 1, so that would be x, okay, because the whole number is determined by the top number. See how that is there? This is there. The top number is that number. There's a bit of a pattern, yeah? So if I was to erase that, I'm just going to erase that so it's just a bit more clear for everyone. And just write 2 there. And write 2 there. So the 2's cancel out. So now it becomes x equals 11 times 2, which is 22. They cancel out. So this, okay, would be another example of the 2-step method. I know I said 3, but I beg your pardon, it's not 3. 3-step would be something like if I wrote 3x plus 2 over 5 equals, oh no, plus 7 equals 10. It'd be something like that. Be pretty long. That's the 3-step. 3-step or more method, I'd say. Okay, so let's do the next one. So that's not meant to be capital, so just ignore that. So the first thing we need to do is move 4 across next to the first house. So now we've got negative 3x. You have to write negative. Okay, negative is part of the 3x. You can't just go, I don't want my arm. I'll just leave my arm there. It doesn't work like that, yeah? So you put 7 because that's the first house. Now, what's the imaginary sign in front of 4? How do we know if this is a positive 4 or a negative 4? Well, if it was negative, it would have the negative side, but it doesn't. So we know that the sign in front of 4 is positive. So when we bring it over, it becomes minus 4. Okay, so now we calculate it. Negative 3x equals 7 minus 4 is 3. Now I'm trying to find x. I'm not trying to find negative x. I'm not trying to find x squared. I'm trying to find x, positive x. That's why there's no plus there. And if there's no minus, it's a positive. So how do I get rid of negative 3? Well, you can simply just divide by that number. So negative 3 divided by negative 3. And if you divide that, you have to divide this side. So negative 3 cancel out. And that will give you x. Okay, so you're probably like, how does that work? Well, 3 divided by 3 is 1. And negative is positive. So actually, it's equal to positive 1. That's how I got that. And I'm just writing this just for you, your reference, okay? 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now, what sign is in front of that 3? It is a plus. So positive, negative is negative. Okay, so we just need to quickly remember our symbols. Positive is positive. Negative is positive. Positive, negative is negative. Make sure you write that down in your books. I know I've been writing it lots, but we need to be remembering this. Okay, so we don't need to write 1 in front of the x. I could simply just write x equals negative 1, and that's the answer. Okay, you don't need to write that. I'm doing this so you understand how I came about negative 3 divided by negative 3. That's all. Right? You don't need to write that. All right, let's do the next question. So first thing, you move the 1 across. So it's 5x over 2 equals 4. Remember, that's the first house now. Positive 1 carried over the equal sign now equals minus 1. Do we see that? The sign changes. Yes, when it goes across the bridge, the equal sign, it changes. So now my new equation is 5x over 2 equals 3. Now how do I get rid of 2? It's just like how you've been doing trig, okay? How do you get rid of the bottom number? You multiply it. Okay? So first step is to multiply it. So after you've multiplied, it will give you 5x equals 3 times 2 is 6. Because these are cancelled, okay? They cancel out. Now, how do I get rid of the number next to the letter? Well, I just divide it. Okay? So this is where fractions come into play, all right? So now we know 5 divided by 5 is what? 1x. Now I'm just writing it for you, okay? 6 divided by 5 is 6 over 5. What? Well, quick recap. Okay, so if I wrote 3 divided by 2, that as a fraction is 3 over 2. Okay, so if I wrote 5 over 2, that's the same as 5 divided by 2. So in other words, this line here can be replaced by the division sign. Do we see that? And this line is called the vinculum. All right, I'm just showing you that division can be written as a fraction and fractions can be written as a division. And that's how I got 6 divided by 5 as 6 over 5. All right, now, like I said, you do not write this in your answer. So you must write, therefore x equals 6 over 5. And that would be your answer. Unless the question asked for a mixed number, then you would have to convert it. Now, how do I convert it to a mixed number? Well, the question is, how many times does 5 go into 6 without going over? So, I'm just going to use this space here. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2, 5 times 2 is 10. Now, we're looking at these to determine the whole number in a mixed number. So I can see that 10 is greater than 6. Do we see that? 10 is higher than 6. So that means I can't use that. If this number here on the next to the equal sign is greater than the top number, you can't use that equation. So now, which number am I looking at? The ones that I've circled in green? 1. So 5 goes into 6 one time without going over. Now, the top number is the remainder. It's the remainder. So what do I mean by remainder? So now, to get that, you need to do 6 minus 5. So the numerator minus this 5. So 6 minus 5, which equals 1. And with that 1, you carry it across, and the denominators are the same. So it's 1 over 1, 5. That's how it works. Now, if you need practice on mixed numbers, ask your teacher, and we should be able to provide you some examples. Okay, cool. So let's do our wonderful three-step method. So this is a 3-step method. Now, I've only covered 2D so far, so don't get too excited that the video is going to end, because it's not quite yet. So how do I get rid of the 5? How do I get rid of it? Well, I just multiply both sides by 5. That's how I do it. So when I multiplied both sides by 5, I actually cancel these. So now it becomes 4x plus 2 equals 3 times 5, which is 15. And now you can see a 2-step method equation. So now what you can do is you can carry your 2 across after the first house. So 4x equals 15. It's a plus, which means it's a minus 2. Yep, we change it. When it goes over the equal sign, it changes to the opposite. So now the new equation is 4x equals 13. Now, how do I get rid of 4? Well, I just divide it, because I'm trying to find x. That's what you're trying to find. You're trying to find x. You're not trying to find 4x. You're just trying to find x by itself. So now that I've cancelled that out, because 4 divided by 4 is 1x, okay, what is that as a fraction if I can't divide 4 into 13? Well, it's 13 over 4. Okay, I'm just going to continue my writing over here, right? So now we've got 1x equals 13 over 4. We don't write x, so that equals 13 over 4. All right, and this, when a numerator is bigger than a denominator, okay, it's called an improper fraction. That's what it is. Now, how do I convert that into a mixed number? Well, you have to now go into the multiplications of 4. So you get 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, and we can see which one of these is closest to 13 but isn't over. And we go, this one, isn't it? Because 16 is higher than 13, but 12 isn't. So the numbers we're looking at for whole number is this one here. So now we know that the whole number is 3, the big one. Now to find the numerator, we subtract the number here, we subtract them together. So it's 13 minus 12, and the denominator stays the same, which is 4. All right. So it actually, as a mixed number, is 1 over 4. And that would be the mixed number answer. All right. Remember, you can pause and go back at any time, and you can ask your teacher for any explanation if you need to. All right, so now we're going to move on to 2e. So equations with brackets and pronumerals on both sides. So the first thing you need to do is you need to expand the bracket. So let's say we have 3x plus 1 equals 2. What am I doing? You are multiplying the outside number with the inside ones in brackets. So this actually means, okay, let me just do a little times there and there. 3 times x is 3x. Okay, 3 times 1 is 3. Now, how do I know if it's what sign's here, if it's positive or negative? Well, that's positive 3, because we know there's an imaginary plus sign there. and plus here. And we know plus plus equals plus. So it's plus. Okay, and we just write equals 2. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to expand the brackets. Now, after you expand the brackets, you can do your algebraic method, to solve for x. So you could, 3x equals 2 minus 3, because I've changed the sign. 3x equals negative 1. And then you divide both sides by 3. Alright, I'm just going to continue again over here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1x. Just doing it for you, okay? And this can be a fraction, so we can put negative 1 over 3. So the answer is negative a third. This question here. Alright, so we're just working this way. Now, you got to move all the pronumerals to one side and all other expressions without a partner. Partner, I'm saying like, x, b, a letter, essentially, to the other side. Okay, that's because it's easier to calculate. It's kind of like, if I had, dogs on one side so I could count all the dogs, and cats on the other side so I could count all the cats, rather than it being dogs and cats on this side of the fence and dogs and cats on the other side of the fence. I'm just keeping it to dogs on the left, cats on the right. So if we were to keep without analogy, let's say, x is representing dogs and the ones without x are cats. So we want this one to go over this side, and we want plus 4 to go over that side. Now, plus 4 has to go after negative 3 because it is the same concept as you can't put the house before the house. That's already there. Same as the dogs. You can't put it after. These dogs, own the joint. These ones are about to join the joint. These cats own the curb. They're about to join the curb, all right? So now we know it's 3x. Now, what's the sign in front of 2x? Plus. Well, because it doesn't have a minus, so it's automatically a plus. So if it's plus, it becomes a minus 2x, all right? And I'm just trying to color code it so you can see it better. So all the cats there, and you move the cats from this side over here, so the sign changes because it's a plus 4. It's a minus 4, all right? And this is where you adding your negatives come to play. So 3x minus 2x. How do I do that? 3 minus 2 is 1, so it's 1x, equals negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7, because minus minus is plus, and you add them together, so it gives you 7, but because you're doing a negative, it's becoming more negative. Now, if I was to show you on a number line what that looks like, real quick, okay, so if we were, let's say this was 0, so this is plus and this is minus. This is if you add, and this is if you subtract, you go this way. If you add, you go this way. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. Okay, and this would be like, your 1, 2, 3. So right now, this section here, I'm just going to show you how I calculated that on a number line. So we start on negative 3, which is there. You were going minus, minus, left. We're going left, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we land on negative 7. And that's how we get negative 7. Okay. So if drawing number lines helps you, by all means do that. Okay. I'm not going to stop you. Now, you don't write 1. You just write x. I told you I'm only writing 1 just to help you, but in math you must always not write the 1. Okay, cool. So we're going to do a few more examples to expand brackets. So the first thing, you've got to get the outside number and multiply it with the 2 numbers inside. So 3 times 2x is 6x, okay, and 3 times a negative 1, because that belongs to it, is negative 3. All right, and I'm just going to quickly show you what I just did. 3 times negative 1, which was this one there, and this one was 3 times 2x, which gave me that one there. Okay, and I'll just erase that one. Okay, so that's just so you know where I'm getting it from, all right? And that equals 4. Awesome. Now we need to, we're solving for x. I've forgotten to write the question even, so now you move negative 3 over the bridge, so it's 6x equals 4 plus 3, because it changes sign. So 6x equals 7. Make sure your equal signs are aligned. It's a bit difficult because I'm writing on a trackpad at the moment. Now, to get rid of the 6, you need to divide both sides like that. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, so 1x for your sake. 7 divided by 6 is 7 over 6, remembering fraction. 3 divided by 2 equals 3 over 2. 5 divided by 6 equals 5 over 6. Do you see the pattern? The first number goes on top, the second number goes at the bottom. First number goes on top, the second number goes on the bottom. Okay, so therefore x equals 7 over 6. Okay, that's how you would solve that. So now we can see in B, you have to expand the bracket before moving, cats and dogs to one side of the fence. So let's do it. Okay, so I might do the same thing I did with blue, just on this side as well. So 5 times x is 5x. Okay, positive 5 plus up times positive 2 is 10. Okay, and I'm just going to rewrite that. So I'm just going to write it in blue again, just so you can see. So this one's 5 times 2, and this one's 5 times x. Okay, and that's very confusing. Okay, so I'm just showing you how I worked it out. So now that I've done that, I can actually simplify on this side. Actually, to not confuse you, I will move 10 on that side. So it becomes 19 minus 10, because it's positive here, so it must be minus. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Their haircuts are the same, so 3x. We could say dogs, they're the same type of dog breed. Alright, 19 minus 10 is 9. So to get rid of 3, you divide both sides by 3. Because you're solving for x, you're not solving for 3x, you're not solving for x squared. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we don't write 1, do we? No, we just write x equals 3. And now I've put that into practice for you. You can actually cut that out. You don't need to write it. Okay, I'm just writing it just so that you've got that practice. If it becomes a habit, I suggest that you stop doing it, because if that becomes your answer, it's a bit of a difficult habit to get out of. Alright, so we're going to do a few more. I'm not sure how many more I did. Okay, so the first thing we do is we move 5x to this side, and we move minus 1 to that side. See how you're moving them only after the number that's already there? Yeah, so 7x is first, then you do minus 5x, because there's a plus here, and it's over the equal sign, so it changes. You keep your negative 7. You move negative 1 across, so it becomes plus 1, because it's over the equals. So 7 minus 5 is 2x, equals minus plus is minus. So that's actually subtract. So 7 minus 1 is 6. And if this number is greater than that one, it's a negative. Alright, you're probably like, I don't really understand that. So let's just take a quick pause on that. So if I had negative 7 plus 1, I just said it was negative 6. If it was negative 1 plus 7, it's plus 6. So what you need to understand is that whenever this number is bigger, big and mighty, than this one, the number's negative. If it's smaller, it's a positive. Okay, but we don't write plus. So I need you to grasp this concept. So for example, let's just do another one. So negative 5 plus 2, alright, so negative plus is minus. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Now this is bigger, isn't it? 5 is big, isn't it? So it's a negative. Bigger, negative. But if I did negative 2 plus 5, same thing. Minus plus is minus. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So same number. But 2 is bigger, isn't it? 2 is smaller than 5. So it's a positive. And that would be your answer. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Now, if you need support, make sure you ask your teacher. So to get rid of the 2 down here, you need to divide both sides by 2. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm going to not write 1 anymore. So it's x, so it's 1x, equals negative 6 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative positive is, because there's a positive here, there's no negative, so it's a plus. So negative plus is negative, and that would be your answer. So now in D, you need to expand your brackets. Okay, so 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 3 is minus 12. And I'll just write it in blue for you so you can see. That's 4 times 2x. This is 4 times negative 3. Okay, and that equals to 5 times x, which is 5x, plus 5 times 6, which is 30. Okay, So I'll just do that in blue as well so you can see. It's just honestly practice, alright? So if I don't write a minus, it just automatically means that there was a plus. And you know that because there's no minus in front of it, yeah? So now we're going to move the cats and dogs on the right fence. So 8x minus 5x, because there's a plus, so we move it over the equals, so it changes to minus. Equals 30, not a minus anymore, it's a plus. Remembering this is the first house, you can't move them, that's why they're first. So I'm just going to do it in green. I can't emphasize that enough. You can't move these ones, okay? They're first on the block. So 8 minus 5 is 3x, okay? Think of it like the haircut. 30 plus 12 is 42. And to get rid of the 3, we divide both sides by the number. Hopefully you're getting in the rhythm now. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, but we're not going to write 1 here. But there is a 1 here, okay? And 42 divided by 3 is 14. Alright? And that would give you your answer. Okay, so just a bit of a reminder that some questions use different pronumerals in their question. So don't be thrown off. So these could literally include any letter in the alphabet. But I mostly see Y and Z. I see A's and B's. I sometimes see C's. Sometimes they do F and G's. It's just up to the question and the author, really. So this one you really, really need to remember. Plus plus is plus, minus minus is plus, and minus plus is minus, or negative. But that's how I say it, because it rolls off my tongue quicker. Cool. So thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks, guys.